Okie dokie. This is still, not still, that sounds like there's a bad connotation. This is 2.2. Some additional questions. So let's start with 6C, which is on page, I hope if I was on the right page, 101. It says justify, no, for which values of the variable is each radical defined? Justify your answer. So this one's the cube root of 4c squared. Am I doing the right one? 6c. Cube root of 4c cubed. Okay. The 4 is positive, so we can ignore it. Okay? 4 is positive, so it doesn't matter. Because cube, like whether it's an odd root or an even root, if something's positive in there, it's all good. Now, c cubed, so let me just ignore the 4 for a second. Let's just say the cube root of c cubed. That's what that is the cube root of c times c times c. Anything to the power of 3 can be simplified and just pulled right out. Like this simplified here is c cube root 4. That's what this equals once it's simplified. But it's asking, can c be negative or positive? It can be anything. Remember, if we kind of do that check, -1, 0, 1, you can just try it. It's going to be pulled out, so it doesn't matter. If you put -1 in there, this will be negative cube root of 4. 0 obviously makes everything 0. If it's 1, it's just cube root of 4. Anything works. When it's -1, it does not create an imaginary number under the root sign. Does that help? Please let me know if it doesn't. Where are we going now? 11b. Similar question for which values? Yeah. Similar question, and then you got to simplify. Okay. Oh, it's cube root as well. Oh, wait, I'm looking at B. 11b. Yeah, that's right. 11b, page 103. Cube root negative 48c to the 5. Negative 48c to the 5 all over 125. Okay, this actually comes all the way down like this. We can treat this like two separate questions, and that might make it easier. So it's a cube root negative 48c to the 5 over cube root of 125. Okay, so I'm going to kind of ignore this for now because this is the tricky part, right? So that negative 48. Let's look at that first before we look at the c, because it depends on that. So the negative 48. Do it in a different color. I thought I picked up red. Weirded me out. Negative 48. 2 times 24. Excuse me, I just want to yell at my family for a second. Never mind. 2 times 12. 2 times 6. 2 times 3. You see all that? So we have to pull out groups of 3, right? Because it's a cube root. If it was squared, it'd be groups of 2. This is the only group of 3. We have a negative 48 here, which means these can all be negative. We can pull out the negative 2. So when we simplify it, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 is going to stay inside. Negative 2 is going to come out. So that equals negative 2. I'm going to leave space for the c. Cube root of 6. Okay, is that making sense? Now, with respect to the, should I use a different color? Maybe I'll stay with this color. Now, with respect to the c, that's just c times c times c times c times c, right? That's c to the 5 right there. That's what equals c to the 5. We need to pull out groups of 3. So we pull out 1, we pull out 3, but 1c represents those 3. C squared is left inside. So now That tells us C can be anything because it's squared. If it's a -1, -1 squared cancels out. Even if like all these were -1s, then it'd be like +2, right? Does that make sense? 125, just to finish the question, 5 times 25, 5 times 5. That's a group, group of 3 5s. So the 5 comes out. There's nothing left in there. Do you guys see it dimming or anything? Sounds like my son's using some power tool outside and my power is dimming. Better not screw up my video or he's grounded. So the question asks, for which values of the variable is each radical defined? Well, C is an element of the reals. Am I dyslexic? I keep wanting to write it as a 3. C is an element of the reals. And this is the, whoopsie, simplified version. I'm just going to double check my work, make sure I didn't make a mistake. 11b -2/5. Where the rest, yeah, C is there. Yes, okay, I wrote it a little bit differently. It's probably worth mentioning because some people might say, yeah, but it shows different in the textbook. This is exactly the same. Where did my red marker go? Oh, there it is. This is exactly the same. There's lots of ways to do this. -2/5. That C can be on top or right beside. It can't be underneath. The reason the negative can be anywhere is because it's like a -1. The C, we don't know its value, so it can't be divided by. Because divided and multiplied by -1 is the same thing. The C, my preference, honestly, is to have it at the top. Like here, the back of the book doesn't, so I don't like the way that looks, but it's not wrong. 6C squared. Cool. Those are both exactly the same. This is the way the back of the book has it. This way looks nicer. That was 11b. What else are we doing? 13b. Going on to 13b. And because the red is uncapped, let's stay with it. Oh, but the original question's on 103. 13b. The question itself is on 104. In the far north, how far? Winnipeg? Ice roads are often the only way to get supplies to mines. No, not Winnipeg. The formula, T equals 4 root M. T equals 4 root M is used to determine the minimum thickness of ice, T inches. So T is thickness in inches needed for an ice road to support a mass of M in tons. All right, I'm going to write this down because I feel like I'm going to forget. T is inches. Mass is tons. Yeah, okay. So for part B, it says, what is the maximum mass for ice that is 10 inches thick? Okay, so we're putting the 10 in for the T. 10 equals 4 root M. We want to solve for M. So we're going to first isolate it. Divide both sides by 4. So 10/4 equals M. And we can simplify that if we want right now. Do it now, do it later. It works out the same. So it's 5/2. Whoopsie. 5/2 equals 10/4, which equals the root of M. Square both sides to get rid of the root sign. This squared, 25/4 equals M. Just so you guys know, in case you were worried, well, does it really work out? If we square 10/4, that's 100/16. Simplify that, 50/8, 25/4. Okay, so it does work out. And this is in inches, so it probably wants not a fraction. 4 goes into that 8, not 8 times, 6 times. 6 1/4 inches. Cool. Might be 6.25. When it's a nice fraction like that, and you can have it's not a repeating decimal or anything, I'm okay with that. 6.25 inches. And then C, oops, I'm going to have to move this. Let me just double check just to make sure I'm not misleading you. 11, 13, 6.25 T. It's a dumb way of putting it. 6.25 inches is what it should say. My power's flickering. C, suppose the mass of a load is multiplied by 4. So M is becoming 4M, okay? You have like a quarter of a truck full or something, and now it's full. What will the thickness of the ice have to increase? Okay, I've said before, when you have kind of questions like this where it's like it's not really giving you a whole lot of information, you almost have to make things up yourself. Plug numbers in to try it. So let's pretend the M, because our original question, T equals 4 root M, it's a root sign, so let's make it a square root of something. It can be 1, that's always super easy. I'm going to use a bigger number just to show you it works with whatever. But pick a square just to make it easy. So I'm going to say let M equals 16, okay? T equals 4 times the root of 16. The root of 16 is 4. So T equals 4 times 4, 4 squared. Thickness is 16 inches. Okay? If there's 16 tons, you need 16 inches. Now, if it's 4 times that, what about that? I'll do it in a different color just to show you the difference. So T equals 4 times the root of 4M. M is 16 still. I'm running out of room. T equals 4 times the root of 4 times 4. No, 4 times 16, sorry. Why did I pick such a big number? 4 times 16 is 64. Oh, it's not that big. 4 times the root of 64. Root of 64 is 8. 4 times 8 equals 32. So it goes from 16 to 32. So what happens is the thickness doubles. When the mass is increased by 4, the thickness doubles. Suppose the mass of a load is multiplied by 4. How will the thickness of the ice have to increase? Yeah, it doubles. This is probably one of those ones where it doesn't even have an answer. What number is this? 13C? What? Oh, no, wrong question. 13AB multiplied by 2. Yeah, doubles. Okay, the first answer I read was always true. I'm like, what? Was that it for the questions? B and C? I think so. I hope that helps. Okay, bye.